put a sign.
I think that's the first time you've ever called me Mr.
How are you?
Lane.
Good. Anyway, if you say about that,
Yes.
I did it, but it was just before we go live, so. Okay, where I know that sound, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Here is,
One of the ones of my buddies is called me about 3:30 in the afternoon.
I'm not voting.
Correct, yes. Yeah. Okay, so usual. Okay, welcome to the December 18th, 2023 episode of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have one applicant. We'll obviously hear that applicant first, last, and only. We have a full board here. I don't believe we have any conflicts of anyone. So, 2362 William Bonville.
Yeah, I'm here just to represent
Okay, and you are,
Russell Frank.
okay. Do we have documentation allowing him to act on his behalf? We do, okay. All right. Okay, Russell, go ahead and,
Okay, well, this is something that I'm just going to pay for because I'm trying to take care of my home in Florida, so I know a little bit about what has to happen to get from it. I've been building for 41 years and the state code enforcement officer, so right, I'd like to know this, with the setback that's from the center of the road to where his property goes, and the elevations where he started the fence. Does the fence elevation start from his property line, which it is, it goes back, and how you came up with the determination of the height elevation?
the determination is from the grade where the fence is.
Okay, the grade is, where do you measure from the grade line or from the fence line? For the height elevation of the property from the road where they cut the curve, it goes up steeply, it goes up at a slope
Yes,
to the point to where the elevation levels out.
yes.
So the reason that he needs a variance is because he's in height, or is it because of the setback from the center of the road?
Both.
Okay, so he's too close to the road, you're saying?
No, he can have a fence where it's at, he just cannot have it as high.
At 6 foot height.
Yes.
So then he has to go back how far at 4 foot then, before he can step up to the elevation of 60?
The front, even with the front edge of the house.
The front edge of the house, but everybody's house is different distance from the road or from the center easement right away. The right of ways can be, 50 feet, you get 25 feet each way.
Well,
So why would it determine the corner of the house when every house elevation is not the same difference from the center to the road?
well, we won't get into that because either way, the house is in the legal front yard setback of that lot. The front yard
Okay, what
setback,
determines that legal setback?
25 feet.
Okay, so that house right now is at 25 feet from the
It's 20 feet,
20 feet?
yes.
Okay, so
But our code allows them, am I correct, Joe?
Yeah.
Code allows
Let's
them
make
to,
sure we're all on the same page. Can you go back to the last picture? Okay, so, this is a corner lot, so both both yards are considered fronts.
And
Anytime a property borders the city right away, both of them have to be considered fronts. So this is the front yard, the other side of the river is the front yard too. As far as where the house is located right now in that yard, I don't know exactly. You mentioned 20 feet, it might be,
That's what's on their plot
okay,
plan.
it's pre-existing already.
Yes.
Okay, if that house wasn't there,
there
this
was a
is,
pre-existing in subchapter E, not subchapter B, right?
well, I'm sorry, what?
So when you're looking at pre-existing, you have to look at your codes for subchapter E.
What I'm telling you here is you actually have the benefit of where that house is existing, and if that house wasn't there, if this was a vacant lot,
Yes, sir.
the front yard setback in this district is 25 feet. So assuming this is the property line, you have to be 25 feet back to be 6 feet in height. Anything in front of that would have to be, couldn't be higher than 4 feet. But since their house is here,
Yeah.
even if it's closer than 25 feet, anything beyond the house is considered side yard. So what's in front of the house is front. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be 25 feet back in this instance.
Yes,
So then
the
you're-
front of the house establishes the front yard setback
Yes.
because it is less than the required setback.
Required setback in today's standard.
Yes,
Okay, so then you're saying that the violation is from the corner of the house to the pre-existing road, that the elevation is at 6 feet and not at 4 feet.
correct.
So then if he were to reduce that fence from there down to a 4-foot fence from the corner of the house out to where it pre-exists now, that would be in violation, then he would be in the code.
Yes,
And that's without doing anything with the elevation of the grade, because the grade pitches from the road, it's got actually a steep, it's got like a one-on-one pitch.
Yeah.
Every foot's got a foot rise, you know, so.
but that applies to both the white fence and the wood fence. They're both in the,
So he's getting violated for both of the fences.
yes,
Okay. That used to be a hedge right there,
yes,
that was up as high as the other hedge.
yes, I know.
Okay, so since he took it out, then it's got to go with the 4-foot, the new standard of the code.
Yes,
Well, hedges are not regulated.
correct.
No, right.
That's, so a fence height is.
Yeah, if he wants to put in a hedge, he can have that.
Well, I don't really know what he wants to do, I'm just asking that question to see where we can resolve this. If this
Yeah.
taken care of, that's all we really
Yeah.
want to do is resolve it. So we're just trying to look at the easiest situation, I didn't do any of this work, so
Yeah.
I don't know anything
Yeah.
about this. I did go there and look at it. So your suggestion to me or to him would be to come to the corner of the house and step it down, the fence, or?
I'm saying that's what the code allows him to do.
And where you guys stand that you would approve or would like him
I don't know.
to work together?
I really can't say that, just because I don't know. You know,
I know that he went and he did it without a permit, and he did the driveway without a permit, but right now, we can't look, we're looking for an after effect permit to get it resolved and get it taken care of, you know what I mean? Whatever has to get done, but it's probably the simplest and most easiest way to make, join the neighbors happy, make the board happy, and make the code enforcement.
mhm.
I don't know why he did it that way, but it's done, and now we're just trying to resolve it.
Yeah. Really the question is, because there's not a whole lot of in between, it's not like we could say, move the fence back some or anything like that. It appears he wants the fence where it is. It's really, and we're at 6 feet plus on the wood. And I'm assuming the vinyl is 6 feet,
And the
assuming
vinyl, that's a 6-foot bench, but the posts are higher than the 6.
So the wooden fence is just over 6 feet. The vinyl fence
At the street front is 8 feet, obviously the grade.
That's from grade level, right?
Yeah, so
But if they run
it's
up the
less,
grade,
as it goes west, it's less, obviously, because the,
right, but if they run up the grade, that would make the driveway make like a belly in the driveway. If they brought it up and have to pitch back at 3 foot. We
yeah,
go rise for 1 and 1.
with the driveway there, it'd be pretty difficult to.
It would make like a belly in there. It would almost be better to reduce the elevation of the top of the fence line.
You could step it.
Because if you keep building up, that's only gonna be diverted from water, from drainage, and everything, and there is drainage to that, underneath that, so.
Especially.
No, because I think once he gets behind the house, he's about 6 feet.
So you're saying right at that corner of the house is where that 6 foot has to stop?
Yes.
Is there any way you can work a determination to where you can meet a column line? If it comes 2 foot past the corner, could the column line make the difference or step down? Because, you know, the post, I'm calling the column the post. If you have to go back, you can't really cut that kind of fence down out of the elevation of the post. But if the corner is at 20 and you come to 21 or 22 feet before you can step down, I mean, or do you have to go back to the next section?
How do you measure it? Average?
Well, I mean, I see what he's saying.
Yeah, I do
His
too.
question is, what if it falls out between the 2 posts?
Right.
Can you go to the one in front, can you go to the one in the back? I mean, if you're asking me how we would measure it, we'd measure it straight up. We would,
Okay.
if they were building a fence from the ground up, then they would start it with that post right there.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
You know, you've
What I'm
got,
asking you though, I think it is to try to make it simple for them. Instead of trying to cut something in the area, it's a vinyl fence, and it just doesn't cut, it's all free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something, and that's part of what you guys gotta make a decision, not me, I'm just asking a question. What's best?
I mean, they'd be allowed to go 6 feet high, right to the front of the house, but if it falls between one of those posts, we wouldn't make them go back. We'd tell them that it can be right there, and then they have to sort that out.
Either go back to the other post or go behind.
Were there measurements taken of the fence from the ground up, like the full back fence?
I believe it was all, I think I spoke with Kyle earlier, I believe it was all over 6 feet, obviously, because none of the panels are not, they're not making contact with the ground, so. Obviously, it's less as you move west, but I think,
At this point, is this the fence, is it diverted for the corner, is it for visual, is it a visual thing for traffic, or is it just visual for like the joining neighbors or through the street line?
it's far enough back from the corner where it's not a vehicular issue.
Okay.
It is more neighbors and walkability on the street and that sort of thing.
I understand, I just didn't know if it was
Yeah, if it
too
were,
close to a corner, though.
no, that's far enough back from the corner. The only thing it would affect is a big truck, and the big trucks that work over it anyway, so. And actually, there's hedges on both sides of the road, or there were. But, you know, we maintain a 30-foot triangle on the corners, and it's nowhere near that.
Okay.
That's kind of almost non-negotiable.
I really don't have much more to say, it's basically up to the board to make the decision on what they have to do the final repair, to make everything work, and you get re-permitted. Because you're gonna have to file for an after-the-fact permit.
So here's my struggle. I have several struggles with this. The fence as a whole is not in compliance, even though there's a greater issue with that setback portion. the entire fence is higher than it's supposed to be.
The whole fence is higher than it
Yes,
is.
those panels are 6 feet tall and none of them are on the ground, which means they're 6+ and they're only allowed 6 feet. And it's pretty significant in some areas. When I went to look at it tonight, I mean, the end part looks easily close to a foot, maybe not quite a foot. It looked very high, very high. I struggle with people that make these huge projects without permits and without talking to the city. That's a huge struggle for me. And now we're put in the position of being the bad guy to say, hey, you really should be taking this down. Put your post where your setback starts and be in compliance. So you probably heard during our meeting that if we're supposed to be voting on what's being requested, and if we deny that, then you can't come back for a year.
No, and I understand that. I'm on the zoning board of appeals in South Chesterfield.
Okay,
So I know a little bit about what you do, and I've been a builder for 41 years, and I've been a Cape State code enforcement officer, so I've been on both. And I do understand, and I know why you're struggling. I'm just trying to represent them to see what can be done to help them do it, and I understand fully that the fence probably should have been, the elevation should have been dropped completely around, or a step, but I didn't put the fence up, and I don't know.
all right, I won't take it off anymore.
I'm just trying to see how a fix can be done, or what can be done.
Yeah, let's open it up to the audience. Dr. Jaski?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm looking over. I know you by name.
Yes, sir, I know you do.
My wife and I own the house next door, which brings us here. We currently rent it. And, when I first saw the fence, I was struck with the awkward nature of how high it is, and it's at least 2 feet. Bottom of the fence is at least 2 feet off the ground on the street side. Right now, as you see in the picture, there's travel and blocks and sandbags all around them. Mr. Gray is talking about raising the grade. Well, what's that do to the other side? My tenants in there say the fence is a bit obstructive getting in and out of their driveway because from that, there's a big tree. So when you talk about 4 feet and 6 feet, and the grade has been mentioned, how do you propose to fix this on that type of grade? Because that type of fence that was installed can't get down to the ground without the whole thing facing the wrong direction. It's just not made for this application.
The fence at this point looks like it's right on the property line also.
Well, that was my last question I was saving. Is there a survey to show that it's really all on those properties? Because there's a lot that was done in there, a lot of grading that was done on our property. And I don't know, I lost track of where the posts were that used to line up with,
I found a pin in the back,
in,
in the back by the white building, the little plastic building.
so like at the northwest corner of the property.
Yeah, and there was one in the front too.
There have been, but
I think I saw one in the back that it was flagging on.
It does look like Dean Lashway surveyed it, and if the numbers are right, maybe in 2022.
so there is a footprint survey.
I believe so, and, the file number is 2022
It was because
something from.
John did his, the house above that, did a survey also.
Good. So that shows that it's all on the Bonville property and
I
not.
didn't put the fence in, I don't know, I just tell you, I know. there's-
Poor man.
I know there's a survey pin, I saw it today, I saw a flag in there.
Is there one somewhere on the street side?
There should be one right on the roadside, but that big tree, just on the side of the tree, where there's a cable line that goes through there.
Yeah, I saw that flag on our property and Mr. McMahon said, oh, well, that's, Dig Safe came and put markers in before digging was done.
I said that's probably what happened. And I'm probably right.
Is there a setback from the property line to the fence?
No.
What was the question?
Is there a setback requirement for a fence?
Setback from the property line? No, it's gotta be on your property, but it doesn't have to be a foot or 2 feet or.
It's gotta be on the property.
So in order to prove the fence is actually on the bottom of the property would need to be re-surveyed, or someone would have to draw a string between the two pins that Mr. Gray mentions. Okay. That was primary concern of me and my wife, and the other is how do you adjust this 2 feet off the ground on the street level? If it's really on the property line, raising the grade, meaning there's grade and fill on our side.
Well, we were discussing that in that they're talking about possibly doing a retaining wall. And the city indicated, well, we really don't permit retaining walls, they can just do it. Which is kind of odd.
No, Jim and I talked about that after, and we don't get a lot of those, but we would require a permit for it.
Does a retaining wall actually have to retain something, or else does it become a stone fence? You see,
There's a definition for retaining wall.
but I mean, if you can build like basically a 2-foot high stone fence, to me, that's a fence, not a retaining wall, even if it's made out of stone mortar. or masonry.
Understood. Yeah, I understand where you're going with that. And again, I've never seen anyone do that, just so that they can keep a fence, so.
Right, well, I mean, I would think that a retaining wall has to be at grade at least on
Well,
one side
concrete
of the
retaining
wall.
wall would be very expensive to put underneath after pieces and set.
Yeah.
Yeah, two-side corners or
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
something like frosting. And you gotta make the frost, you lift it up and down.
Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
And I don't know if you can have this information, but there are some unclear notes about not being able to go down farther because of a spectrum cable and some drainage tile or something.
There's a cable through there, but you can call Spectrum and they can move them, and they can lower them.
Is that why the posts are so high?
I didn't put them in, I don't know why they're so high, because I would have done around up. And even if they're granted, I still
I'll
was.
tell you why I believe the posts are that high is because this fence does not move its panels. It's meant to be put on level ground, the ground is not level. So the fence just goes out in the air and the posts go higher and higher towards the street.
And you can step them, sir.
But each panel is fixed.
Yeah, each.
So you would be stepping and you're constantly off the ground, X number of inches.
On one side, you'd be touching, the other side's up.
Right, so then
Touch again, the other side's up.
if it's 4 feet off the ground, you're never gonna get there unless you use a
Well,
different
I mean,
style
6
fence.
feet, you get there, you know, you just,
Yes.
you get there, it gets there.
It looks like you just did
But
the one
then you're-
step.
But not with this style
Recess.
fence. Because this style fence, if he buys 4-foot panels, 4 foot by 8 foot,
Yes, sir.
and you start 4 feet on the ground and you go out to the next post, you're a foot off the ground, so now you're 5 feet. Then you step down and you're still 5 feet off the ground. the whole
These
time.
panels,
You're never getting
these
down.
panels.
You're never getting down to 4 feet.
You could if you recessed some on the front side of it.
In the ground.
But it seems obvious that he just wanted to keep the top consistent, that that's what he was doing.
That's exactly what he wanted to do, it looks like, that he wants to keep the same elevation all the way around.
You have to put in order to side, they have to put in 4-foot panels until they got to the corner of the house.
But they make, instead of, those vinyl panels, they make different sizes.
Yeah,
They make 6 foot, 8 foot, but then you have a column post, a post at every one. And when you start stepping down, the only way you're gonna keep that 4 feet is put your upper part in the grade of the ground. To keep your high point, level and keep, like Doc was saying, it's the only way that's when you keep gaining. But you only gain on one panel. You don't gain all the way if you keep stepping back down. You'd have to put the back corners down below grade.
All right. I think I want to close the public hearing portion. Let's go through the seeker, get some of the administrative stuff out of the way. Question 2 should be yes. Building permit. Everything else is a fence, so it really doesn't. Okay, we're taking a look at this as is, ignorant of whether there is raising of elevation on the ground and what have you. So that wouldn't affect stormwater. If it does something with a retaining wall, that's good. All right. Anyone have any comments on the seeker? I will entertain a motion on the seeker.
I make a motion that the board chair check no or small impact may occur on numbers 1 through 11. Sign.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Anyone have any feelings on what to do?
I have a question about the ground fence, because isn't that entire thing a violation
Yes.
too? That should all be 4 feet as well.
Yes.
That's a little bit easier fix.
Oh, that was the only question about it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
that
no, just,
question about the
we're
ground.
considering that in the whole.
They are both in violation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, to grant the variance would just allow everything to stay as is, correct?
Yes and no. We still have if we grant a variance, we could grant to allow everything as is, but what is not on the table is over 6 foot in the backyard, which is still an issue. But that would be a special use permit and not a variance. And we did not advertise for that, correct? So we can't consider that special use permit without advertising it accordingly.
So if we were to approve it, would they have to come back and get a special use permit for being over 6 feet in the backyard?
Yes,
Okay.
or lower it to 6 feet. Am I correct, Joe?
Well, you definitely can't deal with a special use permit tonight.
Yeah.
Because those that have to be advertised differently, everybody, you have to notify people within 500 feet, so they didn't get properly notified.
Yeah.
I also don't know what kind of issue we're looking at here with the over 6 feet. I mean, we're talking about an inch because it's following the contour of the grade. I don't know, are we talking about 6 inches all the way through the backyard? I'm not sure what we're looking at there, so that's something that we would probably assess
Okay,
in-house.
all right. So you'll get out there with the tape measure, if it's an inch over, say no.
You know, if there was a good, seemingly good reason for it because of the way the ground went,
Okay. So you aren't cold and on hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all are, but
Okay. So the 6 foot is a separate issue that's unknown right now. But everything inside the front yard setback is something you consider.
Have thoughts? You wanna share?
You can, or if you have questions, or,
So my thoughts are, this white fence and the wooden fence are in violation. We have had people remove garages before, for, being not in compliance. And this fence, when I pulled up to it to look at it, I was like, it's extremely out of compliance, let's put it that way. If this was me, I would want to take it down at my own pace, adjust those posts, find out where your 4-foot line is and how close to the house it comes, and I would get as very close. You're a lot more likely, or your friend is a lot more likely to get a variance on that setback distance if the post is off, if the rest of the fence is not so out of compliance. And I would definitely take care of that wooden fence, the whole property. There's just so much that's not in compliance, and it's kind of a,
choose your words.
I'm trying to be very PC right now, but
Put that brown fence and match it all in.
I guess, question for you, since you see Volco, is would you be willing to grant them any amount of variance?
not right now, no.
Okay.
No, there's way too much out of compliance right now.
I would say, like you said, if the brown fence was brought into compliance and the white fence was lowered overall, if, like you were saying earlier, if the posts, they had to go a little into the setback with the posts, I would be agreeable to that if the other issues were resolved. That wouldn't bother me.
We should
But
probably
it
know,
really depends on where that lands, and we don't have that information right now.
No,
If it's 5 feet in front of the, if the post,
no, if it's 5, you split the difference, the more you can go one way or the less you go the other, you have to go back.
possibly, but I would
That's
definitely
how
want
it's
that
supposed to
measurement
be.
before we made it.
I'm just saying if you're within a foot or so, within the corner of that, not 4 or 5 feet.
If we
4
were
or 5
gonna
feet
put,
is
yeah,
not realistic, but if it's this foot or so, does it make that much of a difference if it's 19.6 or, 20 feet, you know what I mean? To go to the next column back.
if
the
it
only
was
thing I
within
would
a
ask.
foot, yes, but again, we don't have that information right now, so I wouldn't even,
Well, you would definitely have to work with the code enforcement officers and make sure it was with the, I don't believe they have a problem with working with them, but they should have done that at the beginning.
Where do you think the pin is related to that drainage? Excuse me, the pin?
Yeah.
Where they have their green drain tile cut?
That's right where the pin is. right where that-
Excuse me, Doc, we closed the public hearing.
I got it, yeah. What was bothering you guys?
Get me back for when you did me at one time.
Ready for more, Mr.
You're talking the wrong guy, he's got the money.
Hey. All right,
Where are all those blue tarps
They're holding sand and blocks around the base of the post.
Yes.
Yeah, because the posts can't work set into the ground. Or, I think that's what they were saying about the spectrum cable, right? Or something along those lines.
So those posts are not even in the ground right now?
Well, I think
They are.
that they're not far enough to hold the fence up.
Appropriate,
I
yeah.
see. Okay. I feel even less bad.
So if we were to postpone on our behalf, to give them some time to figure out how they can become more compliant.
Well, that, and I'd also like to have a better
Yeah, right.
plot
Yeah,
of
they can.
exactly what we got. The city went and measured it, but we didn't get that information in writing. Mr. Kyle. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Basically, Russell, we're looking at the point where I think that if we voted on it right now, it'd get rejected outright. I can't say that for sure, but you've heard the comments.
Yeah.
The option is to postpone on our behalf and say we'd like more information and also maybe come back with something, an alternative.
With a plan of a fix, you mean?
Yeah,
Plan.
that might be more palatable. Or, I think we can work with you, but, if we reject it, it's up to the building inspectors what they can come back with and resubmit for any variance. You can always come back and meet, if we reject it, you can always come back to the building inspector and meet zoning requirements and no issue whatsoever. But if we do reject it, then, you're limited as to what you can come back with.
So you're saying to me that the best thing to do is probably, measure it all up, do a design, say, here's where we'll step down to the 4 feet. We'll take the that brown stuff, whatever that is. Anyways, take that, cut that down to the 4 feet elevation, but you still have to, at this point, work with the code enforcement officer.
Yes.
And then come back with a plan before they actually do it.
No, if it meets code, it doesn't have to come back to us. If it doesn't meet code, then it does.
Okay.
Okay? If you can get it and convince the code enforcement officer that it meets the code, the intent of the code is he interprets it.
Problem with doing that now in a timely manner, it's not gonna happen in the spring. I mean, that would almost be, it would make more of a mess to try to open stuff up right now, because you don't know if the weather could flip over tomorrow,
As we saw today, yeah. But that's discussions that you can do with the building inspector's office.
Yes.
I'm sure if there was a plan laid out, they would probably say, okay, I can't speak for you, Joe.
Yeah, probably the best bet is to just, one of us meet you up there and, talk about what looks right.
I could actually, I could do a blueprint, I could actually do a blueprint and a design, and we could show it.
Yeah.
Settle down and everything.
Also sort out where the setback falls in relation to between the two posts.
And actually check the property line to make sure we can run a string line for it.
Check the property line.
Make sure he's happy, and
Falls in the same.
you also wanna make your neighbor happy.
We haven't really
Yeah.
discussed that.
Well, I consider
You
that
work
part
all
of it.
together, I think,
So we need to find out.
I don't think it's a big problem to resolve.
How are those panels attached to the post?
With the bracket fasteners, and they put the vinyl clip, the caps on top of them. I'm not a bench guy, I'm a custom builder, so.
Is the panels themselves, are they 6 foot from the top cord to the bottom cord? Or are they designed to be?
Yeah, they're usually about 5'8".
So they are designed to be off the ground a little bit. to be, to stay
Usually,
6.
I don't like no fences on the ground because I think it's better to have airflow traces somewhat, even if it's an inch or two.
Right.
And put them tight to the ground. They're designed, but I have seen them penetrating into the ground.
And as was brought up, the gray fence is affected also, correct? That was new. The painted,
That was pre-existing, that fence along the cedar,
oh, it is.
the steps, that was
Okay.
pre-existing there.
It's probably worth mentioning the stain fence, the small portion right there, the grade on the other side is significantly higher.
Okay. All right.
So I guess theoretically, if that fence was on top of that grade on the other side, and we're 4 feet, it would be having the same effect.
But it's pre-existing.
Pre-existing from
It would be
Oh,
pretty
you're
hard
talking
to
about-
bring up grade without penetrating your covering. That's right there.
Do we know pre-existing from when? Like last summer, last
No,
spring?
that portion's old. I think it was, the hedges were on both sides, I think those fences just,
They were up the stairway, they were pre-existing. The house was built in the 60s.
Well, that fence is from the 60s.
Excuse me?
The painted fence there, the tan
But
one?
that was pre-existing when they bought the house, so I've known these people for a long time. And I have been there in Denver, so I know I've marked it, stuff can even back way coming
All right. Well, I entertain the motion.
Are we postponing?
I would say so. I mean, unless somebody wants to make a motion to approve and see what happens.
What would you prefer, that we postpone, so we can kind of,
Well, if you don't postpone, I don't feel that you're gonna do a good job covering for the people. I think, to me, I feel that if they have the opportunity to make it better, it's better to wait and make the opportunity better and work with the code enforcement. I'm sure they can work with the code enforcement officer and try to work around that. It's never good to get rejected, they have to come back and try to deal with it another way.
Yeah.
You know, they gotta get a permit and after the fact, they gotta do a bunch of stuff anyway. But, and then the timely manner is that it's not, good- it wouldn't be a good time for it to happen. It's gonna be a springtime. So, I don't know how long you postpone your meetings for or long here.
Well, but getting
getting
a plan in place
You
is,
won't have to come back if they get a plan that's approved by the code enforcement.
doesn't matter.
Right.
Yep.
So I would think that, I think we just postpone it. I think we'll be better off.
postpone on our behalf. This, appeal
For
number,
2 meetings.
okay, I vote to postpone make a motion to postpone this appeal number 2362 for 2 meetings on our behalf.
All in favor? Aye. You too, Kim? Okay. All right, yeah, I would say get them to work with the building
I
inspector's
appreciate all
office.
your time though, because I know it's just a complicated issue here. I think they can work it out.
Okay.
Make it right. If they didn't do, they had a fence company done, so I think the fence company could have been, you're responsible for getting that permit, they're the professionals, you know what I mean?
That was
But
my
if the
first
homeowner's
question.
not professional, usually it's the professional should at least lead them in direction, say, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank
you, Doctor.
Work it out.
He has my number, Mr.
Yeah, I'll make sure he calls you.
Can I ask you a question about the wording you use? Postpone,
Yes, sir.
the zoning board, so behalf,
Yes.
why is it on your behalf and not the bond bills? They don't know.
There's a,
Yes, sir.
well,
Very curious.
there's a couple of reasons why we do it. first off, it's easier on them because we can continue to postpone on their behalf. They only get two postponements. Okay, and I would consider right off the bat, we were negligent, not pushed in, even allowing this to go through with all the questionnaire on it, that we didn't have all the information that we should have. And so we do it on our behalf. But it's really, it just gives us more leeway, whereas if they postpone, if we postpone on their behalf, we're limited as to how much we can do. We're being nice guys.
None.
Thank you very much.
But,
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
But you know I'm a nice guy anyway.
Well, most of the time for the last 60-something years.
I'll make a motion to review the October 16th, zoning board meeting minutes and approve them as written.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. One last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.